Flux Redux. My replacement TACX Flux has arrived. I'm going to unbox the thing. I was going to write it straight away, but I'm keen to see if there's been any engineering changes on the inside of the thing. So I'm going to unbox this thing and take it apart before I even write it. I want to know what's going on inside because I want to be sure if what happened to the last one isn't going to happen to this one. So I won't take you through a second unboxing video, but I'll rip into this one pretty quick. We'll get the screwdriver out, see what's inside. Alrighty, same as last time, but a lot quicker that process. Visual inspection, all looks the same. Serial number, how far up the tree are we from where we were? I've got absolutely no idea. I'll have to compare that later to my previous one. Just FYI, my serial number is 861603396. Let's get inside this thing. Now it's this side I need to get into, but to get into this side, we first have to take out these screws on this side, up along here. Okay, let's get it done. So my question is, what's changed? Okay, I've brought the unit outside here in the sun so we can see a lot more detail than what we saw inside. The previous Flux that I had, the issue was this black wheel here. As you can see when I turn, that black wheel there was too close to the chassis. So has there been any changes at all to this? It's taking a bit of gymnastics to get this done, but you can see that wheel is still pretty close. Now, hand for scale on that, you can see this is the tolerances in here between that wheel and the unit are still super close. So nothing visually has changed here in this unit. So I couldn't tell any difference there between the original Flux that I had and the new unit that I've been shipped. So now we rebuild the thing, put it on the trainer, perform the same tests and see if it holds up. So I've just plugged the unit in and my other power meter, the one for the wall, shows the Flux pulling about 2.9 to 3 watts in standby mode. I'm not sure if it goes to sleep after a while. I'll put in the comments below if this does change overnight. I'll leave this overnight for science, but for now it's pulling about 3 watts just sitting here doing nothing. Okay, onto the beta firmware I've been supplied. So the team have given me the pre-released firmware to upload. We're going through that process now. Don't go to sleep. Again, this is beta, so it's not available for public just yet, but what this will allow me to do is jump on the thing and report back on that 10 seconds on, 10 seconds off and see if there's any improvement. Okay, just to show that we've got the beta firmware loaded, 3.1.2.1's my current version, and the latest version's 3.1.20. So I'm running a newer one here. Let's put this to the test. Very similar setup to Sydney here, but we're in the Llama Cave. This time we have the Flux, we have the iPad running, we're going to be running the TACX cycling app on here after 20 minutes, and we will try again for the 50k specialized mission, which we had to pull the pin on last time, so it's going to be 50k's. So we'll perform exactly the same test as what we did up in Sydney when the first unit fell over. I have 2 Garmin head units to collect the data from those. We'll put the data files up on DCR's analyzer. First of all, I'll give this thing about 20 minutes to half an hour to settle. It's the first time this thing will be actually pedaled after it's come out of the box. I'll stop everything, we'll do a calibration on the Flux, also on the stages, and then we'll kick off the 20-minute at 200 watts erg mode, then into the 10 seconds on, 10 seconds off. So for now, let's get stuck into this 50 kilometers. Fingers crossed.
Say you want the top love, when I don't
So with the 20-minute test, 4 watts difference between the stages and the flux. Okay, I'm happy with that. 10 seconds on, 10 seconds off, 10 seconds on. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those done. It seemed more responsive, but seems what's on a cricket ball. Let's look at the data in a sec. So we'll have a look at that once I'm done with the session. 26 Ks in, 24K to go before I knock out the 50 Ks. And I've been joined by a legend of Zwift, Mr. Bath Salts. So Yvonne, tell me what you smell.
Smelling like burning rubber.
I'm 4.5 Ks off the 50K challenge. And I've killed Flux number 2. Well, there's a bonus. I got an entry into the draw for a specialised bike, so I had to finish that one off with a Neo. So a few days later and a few days to cool down after that interesting session, breaking yet another trainer. We'll talk about the hardware in a second, but for now, let's look at the data I collected. The 20-minute interval was brilliant. It was the same as the first session I had up in Sydney on the first flux that I had. There was only a few watts between the stages and the flux, and I know the stages is quite accurate putting it up against the Neo and the Drivo, so thumbs up there. Now let's look into the 10 seconds on, 10 seconds off sprint response of the new firmware, 3.1.21, which is the beta firmware we were testing the other day. So let's have a closer look at the comparison on my 10 seconds on, 10 seconds off with the older firmware and the newer firmware. We'll see what changes have been made. Let's have a look. So the session through here, which was 20 minutes, as mentioned before, 4 watts difference. The stages does jump around a little bit. That's to be expected. When that's smoothed out though, it looks pretty good. We'll do a few more sessions on those in the near future with other power meters, but thumbs up for that. Okay, what the firmware did address though was the 10 seconds on, 10 seconds off. And here's the image from that there. You can see the spikes from the power meter and then the estimated power meter, the estimated power curve coming out of the Flux Direct. So this was using the TACX software, not Zwift, and this data was coming straight from a Garmin head unit or 2 Garmin head units. So this is not sort of software related on how it responds within the software. This was purely data coming out of the Flux itself. What do we see in the differences between the 2 firmwares that I had, the original production firmware and the new beta firmware that I was testing? Flipping over here to preview mode. Here was the original test that I did up in Sydney with unit number 1. What you can see here is as we ramp up and jam the peak power on the stages, pretty instant there. It takes 10 seconds. There's a 10-second gap between that peak power and reported peak power from the Flux on the first one. Same with the second, same with the third, same with the fourth. Quite a big lag in delay there. Okay, on to the new firmware, 3.1.21 beta firmware. That's now down to 5 seconds lag, which is better, and the firmware does exactly what they said it will do. It would fix the 4 to 5 second lag, which is brilliant. It does fix exactly that, but the lag was 10 seconds. So they're halfway there. Let's have a look further into that. So you can see the spike there from the stages power meter, again, ramping up, bang, kicking up to the, what did I kick? Just above 1,000 watts there, bringing back down sustainable to about 700 watts. You can see the 2 spikes there. That's about 5 seconds apart before it really comes up to where it needs to be. Same with the second, third, fourth, and fifth. An estimated power meter will always miss the initial punch. So you won't get that initial spike of over 1,000 watts or so if you're spiking really quickly. If you did sustain the 1,000 watts for more than 5 seconds, I'm sure it will then detect that. But these are the limitations on using the kind of power meter estimate monitoring that comes from these units. And look, they're at a cheaper price point, so we can't expect them to operate exactly like a straight power meter. Maybe in the near future, they can pack in more higher end componentry into the lower end models. But for now, there's your trade-off. You're not going to get those spikes from this power meter. So in summary, the firmware that they've worked on over at TACX for the Flux has addressed a 4 to 5 second lag issue, but it is a 10 second lag issue.
Hopefully they can then refine that down to a 2 or 3 second lag. It is apparent when you're sprinting, you can notice it, but it's a hell of a lot better than the first production unit. So thumbs up there, we're halfway. So commentary on the hardware. It was unfortunate the first one broke. It was very unfortunate the second one broke. As for why and how, look, I don't know. I'm simply receiving these units to test and to report back on how they go. And that's my experience. And that's what this channel's all about. I'm really happy I took the unit apart early on and filmed the insides. And as you saw at the start of the video, I couldn't tell anything different between this second Flux and the first Flux. Look, I'll feed this video back to TACX. I'll put it up on my YouTube channel because this is all about my experience. So do we go round 3 and try for a third time with these? I'm not sure. These videos take me about 8 to 10 hours each to produce. That's a long time to end up in the same result again the third time around. So look, to be honest, personally, I'll be hesitant to test another one unless I'm extremely confident something's going to be different. So for now, sun's out here in Australia. Time to work on the suntan. See you soon.